Hi everyone, it's Jerry. This is rapid game number 3 of 4 from the 2012 Fide World Chess Championship match. Going into this round, it is Anand who has 1.5 points against Gelfand's half point. And it is Gelfand in this game that has the white pieces, and he opens with d4. We have Anand replying with d5, c4, c6, knight f3, knight f6, e3, bishop f5, getting the bishop outside the pawn chain, but there is a drawback. Black, with that move, needs to be content with giving white the bishop pair. And this is what white runs in for. Knight h4, bishop goes back, knight for bishop exchange, half open h-file, bishop d3, more development on the white side, and after knight on b to d7, what seems to maybe be a little bit crazy to do, castle. In some sense, the line of fire here. This is a half-open file, but there's not really a great way to get at the white king. I mean, after bishop d6, okay, both pieces are converging on h7, but h3 meets both threats. Black castles, queen c2, a slick move, something that we could see down the line, a purpose for the queen being on c2. In the meantime, queen e7, rook d1, and now rook to c8. This right here being the point. During this stream, I thought, what if d takes c, bishop takes c, and then e5? That would be a mistake. Do you see why? The reason why it's a mistake is because after d takes c, bishop takes c, e5 means that the bishop, which is now on c4, is pinning the pawn on f7 to the king. And so that what that means is that queen takes on g6 is then available. So anyhow, we don't have that capture on c4, but rather rook c8 preparing to meet c5 with tucking the bishop back. That is what is played. White grabs some space on the queen side, and as a follow-up, we will undoubtedly see another pawn racing up to land side by side with that lead pawn. Typical idea with regard to pawn structure, by the way. Your furthest advanced pawn, try and get another guy up, another pawn up right beside it, and look for a break. b5 is it. So anyhow, the bishop backs up. We do have f4. Note that there's some patience on the white side. There's no need to run with the b4, b5 stuff. Let us first take into account and address here what? Address this e5 advance. Let's stop what it is black wants to do, and then we buy ourselves something, we buy ourselves some time to run forward with the b pawn, pressing forward and creating an open b file. So we do have f4, and now the knight retreats. Curious move. Main idea is to permit the f pawn to get to f5, and then the knight will get back to f6, and finally have a home on e4. This is something black is struggling to do. Find a home for the knight. Typically, black is going to want to have this position closed so that the knights can function better and these bishops cannot maybe show their strength. So anyhow, pressing forward on the queen side is Gelfand. First g5, striking at this, having a knight pawn strike at a bishop pawn, welcoming, trying to maybe get rid of a doubled pawn, but loosening up this structure, no doubt, with g5. Rook b1, the b file will open up. The rook is well trained on b1 right now. f5, he didn't go back to e8 for nothing. b5, we have this break happening. G takes f, e takes f, and now knight f6. B takes c, and now bishop a6, an awkward position that black is now in. What do you do with the rook? Rook c7, d8, e8. All pretty reasonable. The move decided on was rook c7. I think maybe the most human-like move to be running with. The computer was suggesting any one of those three as being roughly about the same. But rook being on c7 watches over this c6 pawn. Don't want to let this guy go undefended. So we have now bishop e3. Getting in a spot to have this bishop, I think, act as a blockader. Seeing how the knight on e4 probably turning out to be intolerable. So White wants to be in a spot to maybe just grab that knight, and after a pawn recaptures, it's not the greatest, again, it's not the greatest blockader, but it's just going to have to play that role for the time being. And maybe the best piece remaining that can serve that role right there, being on e3. Anyhow, knight does jump in there, and we don't have its capture just yet. Instead, Gelfand looking to just double up on the b file. And now g5, one of those moves that really caught me off guard during the live stream. It's just the kind where Black is saying, you know what, this is not going to turn out to be a draw. This is turning out to be a decisive result, and well, let's see what happens after g5. Is this going to turn out to be a draw? Is this going to be a decisive result? And who's it going to be a decisive result for? Because the king, the black king, I mean, he's without any shelter at this point. That's the last pawn that he had to hide behind, and now it's striking at f4. So, okay, we do have white doubling up on the b file. We do have gf, bishop takes f, and now e5, bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, and something that I was referencing many times during the stream, I did have a close eye on the computer evaluation, and at this point right here, it's something that will certainly be talked about for some time. Big turning point in this World Chess Championship match is right here, this position right now, after Black's 25th move, knight takes e5. The best move here is to take the knight on e4 and then follow up with d takes knight. The move decided on, however. And at this point, another interesting thing to note, I think it was approximately, at least, yeah, with regard to the time, Gelfand had about 11 minutes. I can't be certain of that, but something around that. So it wasn't serious time pressure that was going on here. The move played was rook takes on b8, and this really turns the tables. Before this move, the evaluation is showing about a +3, which is saying that one side is going to be up basically a minor piece. And sure enough, that's what we would have. So the better move of first knight takes on e4, note that immediately recapturing right here does allow for queen takes on c5 with check, and then this knight is in trouble. So it's first important to grab on e4, and after this knight's recapture, only then take this knight, knowing full well that this bishop is not going to go anywhere at all. What can it do? It's stuck. It can't move. This rook can't go too far away, and there's no way to defend this bishop again. So a continuation might run as knight takes e, f takes e, d takes e, and, well, what can you do? How do you defend against the bishop? You can't do it. The queen does not do well to come back to the 8th rank. Yes, there is 2 defenders, but the queen from that situation would be the leader of defense of the bishop, and that's not good enough. That's not defending successfully. So a missed opportunity, a very big missed opportunity right now at this point. Rook b8 was played instead. And now the knight comes back and will act as a pretty good defender for the black king. So now we have the capture on e4. F takes e4. Queen f2. That rook, again, is pinned right there on the 8th rank. So queen's trying to get active over here on the king side. Queen g7, king h2. Rook f7, some coordination now. And that rook for a while really looked ugly on c7, but it's certainly contributing well, and now there's this passed e-pawn white always has to be concerned about. Queen g3, knight f4. Rook comes back to b3. The queens do come off. King is in check, sidesteps that. Rook d1. I guess anticipating this pawn is going to be hit soon enough, so let's just defend it right away. Sure enough, we do have the knight repositioning. Pressure on this pawn, allowing for these rooks to get active on the 2nd rank. The tables are now turning. Bishop e2, time to reposition. Rook f2, bishop g4. Need to get rid of this knight, so this rook is freed up. Knight f4, pressure on g2. Rook b1, looking for activity. Anand is negating that with rook f7. Rook b8, rook grabs on a. Rook c8, pressure on c6. That is defended. Actually, it's not defended right away. We do have first e3. Rook takes e3. Rook takes g2. King coming back to the corner. Rook d1, back to having pressure on d4. Notice how this white king is cut off. Rook takes c. Knight to e6. And then something terrible happened. Something absolutely terrible happened. And it had nothing to do with Boris Gelfand and Viswanathan's game. The stream I was trying to relay died, and I had a terrible time trying to relay the remainder of those moves. For those of you that were there for the stream, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I believe several sites at this point had trouble relaying the actual moves that were played. And I wasn't able to really go through the rest of the game successfully. But I will right now. And actually what I had planned to do is take the clips of the actual stream and just upload those, the whole games, like with the great gaps between each of the moves and all the stuff that was going on during the stream. I was going to do that, but because of this game right here, because I had it so backwards and wasn't able to relay it, I decided to do a video for each of these specifically, just kind of like a quick review. But in any case, there was a big problem that I experienced at this point. Just a little side note. Anyhow, what followed was rook f3. This knight, of course, could be taken 3 different ways, none of which are good. Rook f1 being a mate threat. So rook f3 negates that. Rooks do come off. The bishop recaptures. Knight grabs on d. Rook gives a check. The king bumps up. Bishop takes d. Rook c2. Bishop e4. Rook c3. The king gets involved. The black king gets involved. King h2, one of those I'm not quite sure what to do moves. Something that's never really a great sign. But again, I believe time was once again an issue for Gelfand. So we do have a check. Bishop takes, rook takes a. Gelfand's up 2 pawns. Is it enough? Rook c3, rook c7, king f4. The rook comes back. The king is trying to hunt this pawn down, and this rook does well to stay put on c3. Pawn pushing forward. The king is there to track it down. This rook basically just stays in a position to cut the white king off. Don't allow this king to cross the 3rd rank. And as soon as this pawn presses forward here, you basically attack it along a rank and then get behind it. That's what happens. So basically any move right here. You could go, I guess, to e3, but why not just steer clear of being close to that white king? Rook a3 satisfies that. So that's what we have. King g2, back and forth. Main thing, cut that king off. The pawn presses forward, and now here we go. Rook to e5, hit it laterally. Presses forward again, just in the nick of time, getting behind it. So now it's the king that's responsible for watching over this guy. The rook is in a good position to stop the h-pawn. Rook h8, king captures on c6. Rook h7, and after king to d6, this is a drawn position. And things move forward into the last tie-break game. It does go down to the last tie-break game to see how things pan out. So this was the final position for rapid game number 3 of 4 of this 2012 Fide World Chess Championship. And as it stands at this point, Anand has 2 points to Boris Gelfand's 1. And we'll see what happens in round number, what do we have? 13, 14, 15, round number 16, or game number 16. So that's all for this video. As always, I hope you got something out of it. Take care. Bye.